Hello, welcome back for yet another episode of the Storytime Podcast. Again, we are still with The Rose That Got Away. This time, we're back to that normal setup of hearing from Wilder first and then from Tamara. And so, without further ado, let's get to it. So, Tamara cleaned up nice. Not that I hadn't already noticed she was an attractive woman, but seeing her in something that wasn't oil-stained mechanics clothes or biker gear or training clothes really put a fine point on it. The woman looked good. She'd untwisted her hair, leaving her natural coils in a fro that complemented her regal features. Features that makeup was doing an excellent job of both accentuating and masking the bruises from our run-ins. I felt pretty bad about that now, but there wasn't much I could do to help it. She didn't seem bothered by it though. She had her head held high, and I could tell she felt good in the flouncy evening dress she'd chosen for tonight. A deep emerald green gown that complemented my tuxedo. Appropriate since she walked into the night's events on my arm and was still hanging close to keep up the appearance that she was my date instead of my strike team partner. "How long do you have to stare before you have me committed to your memory?" she asked, smirking at me as she accepted 2 glasses of champagne from a passing server, knowing that neither of us was about to drink. I shook my head, not at all embarrassed that I'd been caught admiring her. Again, just playing my role. I like to really get into it. Her eyes glittered, amused as she met my gaze. "And what role have you stepped into for the night?" "That of a man who recognizes and appreciates just how fine his date is. Is that a problem for you?" "Stop flirting and stay on task, Wilder." Tamara stuck her tongue out at me as Alicia's voice sounded over our comms. A glance across the room told me she was looking straight in our direction, looking good as hell herself. "I am on task, boss lady," I said under my breath, just loud enough for it to be picked up. Alicia rolled her eyes, tilting her head toward the front of the room. "That is your task. Don't lose focus." The task she was referring to was Tommy Turner. He was by no means the focus of this event, but he certainly made sure to show his face in search of political capital. Maybe it was wishful thinking, but it seemed to me that he was on edge. Shifty. Not that I could blame him. If I was running for government office and had failed to fake the death of my mistress and love child, and now I didn't know where at least one, maybe both of them were, I'd be sweating through my suit too. What a disgusting looking man. I can't believe she willingly slept with him. Ugh. Tamara's face was understandably turned up in disdain. Tommy Turner bore an uncanny resemblance to Porky the Pig. May really could do better. "Deep pockets get you access to a lot of things," I told her, shaking my head, "including well out of your league women willing to, literally, blow up their lives for you." Tamara huffed. "Yeah, her ass just better hope somebody else gets to her before I do." "Or me," Alicia added. I did not envy May having attracted the ire of these particular women, but I didn't feel bad for her either. I had no issue giving her an opportunity to explain herself, but honestly, I didn't see what she could possibly give as viable reasoning for everything that had happened up to this point. From all angles, it looked like she was willing to throw a helpless, harmless little girl under the bus to cover up an affair and stay in the good graces of a rodent like Tommy Turner. Not a good look. At all. "Bingo," Tamara whispered, drawing my attention, and I immediately followed her gaze across the room. When that tracker had suddenly come back to life in one of the casino hotels, it hadn't taken much to cross-check the location against Turner's public itinerary and deduce that May would likely be showing up at the same charity event he was scheduled to attend, with his wife on his arm. Not May. Our negligent mother had fixed herself up too, showing no signs of nearly being bombed or being on the run. She was downright glowing, in fact, her neck and ears laced in jewels that were undoubtedly gifts from Turner, and a dress that looked straight from somebody's runway. Many eyes turned in her direction as she entered, sparking open speculation about who she was. There were lots of whispers, lots of open stares, except for Tommy Turner. Nope. Tommy took one glance at her, turned roughly the same hue as a cranberry juice cocktail, and started paying a lot more attention to his wife. He wouldn't even turn in May's direction. "Uh-oh," I muttered under my breath. "Y'all see what I see?" Slipping up beside me, Tamara nodded. "Yep. I don't think May was invited to this little shindig. And yet, here she is. She's going to try to get him alone. If he doesn't go for it, she'll make a scene," Alicia said. "Which is why he'll go for it. He can't afford a scene," I said, shifting a bit out of sight as May looked across the room. It wouldn't do for her to get spooked and sneak off before we could get a hold of her. "And we can't afford to get spotted," Tamara murmured, looping her arm through mine. "Everybody is pairing off to dance. We should blend in." She was right. Everyone was indeed pairing off to dance, so we did the same, quickly falling into an easy two-step that didn't take too much thought. There was a full band, and they struck up another jazz number that made it impossible to stay still anyway. Tamara lifted an eyebrow at me when I pulled her closer. "What?" I asked, giving her a little wink as my hands drifted just slightly lower than appropriate. "We're a couple, right?" "Only in your dreams, Wilder." "Now who told you about that? It was supposed to be a secret." "Oh, hush." Tamara laughed, but quickly tempered herself as she glanced past me. "Could you be serious, please? I think May is about to make her move." We made a half turn, spinning so that I was in view to see what she saw. Sure enough, May was edging her way closer to where Turner was dancing with his wife. Bold move. Whoever her dance partner was, he seemed content to be dragged along with her until she and Tommy were right next to each other, but neither appeared to say anything or actually acknowledge the tension I could feel from all the way over here. I didn't really get the logic of it. "She's making sure he sees her," Tamara said, as if she read my mind. "I'm not sure they're as in this together as we were thinking before. I'm getting a sense there's some discord." Huh. Maybe she was onto something. 'Cause Turner was definitely sweating harder now, to the point that his assistant had rushed up to him with a towel, trying to restore him to an acceptable level of dryness while his wife stood off to the side looking disgusted. May looked smug, especially once Mrs. Turner walked off to engage some unknown task, giving her the perfect opening to sidle up to Tommy. He glanced around, instant anger taking over his face as he whispered something to her, wagging a finger for effect before he thought better of it and put that down. This would not look good on camera if any were watching. Whatever he and May were going back and forth about, it was cut short by the reemergence of Mrs. Turner. Without another word, May shoved him and then slunk away, leaving Tommy to smooth things over with his wife, who seemed to clearly understand she'd walked up on something she shouldn't. "She's heading for the ladies' room," Alicia's voice sounded in my ear. "Wilder, you stay with Turner. Tamara, don't you need to powder your nose?" "Yes, I definitely think I do," Tamara answered, slipping away from me. I really should have been watching Turner, but instead I watched her walk away. Her ass was looking a little too good in that dress not to. Once she was out of sight, it was easier for me to focus on my mission, keeping an eye on Tommy Turner. It so happened that I looked back to him just in time to see Mrs. Turner smack him dead across the face, sending up a chorus of gas through the crowd. And here we thought May might be the one causing a scene. I moved in closer as security guards and political interns swarmed him, making sure he was okay and trying to run interference as the press members in the crowd started asking questions and taking pictures. This whole thing was turning into a mess, but I didn't realize how much until yet again the mood shifted. The vague concern for a little marital violence shifted to something frantic as right in front of my eyes, Turner collapsed to his knees, clutching his chest. Someone call an ambulance! One of the servers screamed as more people swirled around the fallen man, who was now spread out on the floor, struggling to breathe as he turned from pink to vaguely purple. Holy shit. Boss lady? I don't know what's going in there with you, but we're about to lose one of our targets. We would at least let her explain herself. At least that was the intent. But if Alicia was feeling anything like I was about this woman, there wasn't really much telling how this thing was about to go. It really depended on how May wanted to spin it. Personally, I wasn't feeling very charitable. Just before I started getting ready for this night, I stopped by to check in on Amelia. As anyone could expect, she was scared and confused and missing her mother. And really, I had no idea what to tell her. I didn't have answers to any of her many questions about where she was, when she'd get to go home, when she'd see her mother again. There was a fair chance that the answer was never. Obviously, though, I hadn't told her that. I dried her face and kissed her forehead and told her everything was going to be okay because somehow I would make sure it was. I was certainly no poster child for those who didn't have a mother and turned out okay, but if I didn't believe anything else about what Alicia had built here in Vegas with the former Thorns and Roses, I was certain they would make sure that little girl was taken care of. But I felt like I owed it to her to at least see if her mother could still be a viable option. Alicia had a relationship with the company that had been hired for the security for this event, so it didn't take much to coordinate with them to have the bathroom May had slipped into cordoned off from the outside. When I arrived, Alicia was already very quietly dispersing any other women who were still left in the bathroom, while May was somewhere in one of the stalls. I flinched as Wilder's voice came over our comms, informing us of something going on outside with Tommy Turner. I couldn't focus on that now, though. Right now, as she stepped out of the stall and came face to face with me and Alicia, May had my full attention. She looked at Alicia's face, and then mine, and instantly understood. She was in trouble. "Oh my goodness, Tamra, you're okay," she gushed, not nearly as good of an actress as it seemed she thought she was. Her eyes were too shifty, too busy looking around for an escape for her to be believable. "Oh, where's Amelia?" Of course, her child was the secondary concern here. "Amelia is fine," I snapped at her. "Not that you actually give a fuck." May clutched a hand to her chest. "What? That's my child. Are you implying I don't care about her?" Is implication really necessary when you left her passed out in that apartment while you ran off with the money? I asked. "I still have access to my same cell number. You haven't tried to get in touch with me, haven't tried to see what was going on with her. That little girl was sick, and you wouldn't even take her to the doctor. You wouldn't even know whether or not she's alive." "What?" May's eyes bugged wide. "Not alive? What are you saying?" "Of course she's alive," I spat at her, getting more and more frustrated, because we cared enough to get her the medical care she needed while you were too concerned with running behind some man to do it. "I was trying to secure our future," May argued, but I shook my head at that. "You know, maybe if you'd taken her to the doctor, I'd believe that. Maybe if you hadn't left her, I'd believe that. But as it stands, I don't think I can trust a thing that comes out of your mouth, but you're about to explain yourself anyway. You tell me what the hell is going on here," I demanded, stalking right up into her face. "And make sure whatever you tell is the truth," Alicia spoke up for the first time. "We don't have time for games, and I'm just waiting on one more reason to kick your ass. Don't lie." May swallowed hard, then nodded, turning to me. "Tommy was going to leave his wife," she started, setting off a peal of laughter between me and Alicia. "You dummy! You really believe that?" I asked, and Alicia shook her head. "They never, ever leave the wife. Ever." "You don't know what you're talking about," May insisted. "He was going to leave. He just wanted me to get rid of Amelia so that the affair wouldn't come out. But I wasn't going to do that. Not really. He just needed to believe it. He gave me an ultimatum. Either get rid of her or he'd get rid of both of us. So I told him I would do it. He was going to help me. I just needed his resources, his money. We made a plan, but then you showed up and then that other guy showed up and I had to set the bomb off early. And everything has just been all messed up since then. But I was planning on taking his money, taking Amelia, and getting the hell out of here.
Ladies, there's a bit of a situation out here.
Wilder spoke up in our ears, and Alicia shook her head like he could see her. Not now, Wilder. Whatever it is, handle it. I gave my attention back to May. So why isn't that what happened? I asked. You say you were leaving with your daughter, and yet here you are. Your daughter is not with you, and you're here harassing a married man as far as I can see. Because he said he was leaving, May snapped. I told him Amelia was gone. He was supposed to put the rest of the money in my account, but he hasn't yet. He's going back on his word. Oh my goodness, are you serious? Alicia exclaimed, letting out a fake gasp. The married politician you had an affair and a love child with told you a lie? He went back on his word? I'm so shocked. Make fun all you want, May huffed. But I'm not lying. Look, if I planned to leave my daughter, why would I bother drugging you, Tamara? She asked. If I wanted to leave by myself, I could have just slipped out of the bedroom window and been gone. And you wouldn't have known a thing because you were too busy watching for somebody coming after us. I slipped you the tranquilizers because I knew I had to in order to get me and Amelia out of there. I know you don't believe me, but that's the truth. Girl, you're damn right I don't believe you, I told her, even though, honestly, what she was saying made sense. She was right. I was so distracted that if May had simply slipped out the window, she could have been long gone into the night, and I wouldn't have known different until it was too late to do anything about it. But you still left without her, I reminded her. No matter what her intention had been, the facts were the facts. Because I didn't feel like I had a choice. That guy showed up again and you two were fighting, and I still have no real idea who you are or who he is. I didn't know if Tommy had sent you or someone else, and I got scared. I know it's not right, and I know it makes me a bad mother, but that's the truth. I was just scared. I never intended to abandon my daughter. Once I had the rest of the money, I was going to hire someone to figure out what had happened with May. But thanks to you, I guess I don't have to do that anymore, she said, smiling at me like I wasn't one wrong word away from kicking her ass. I'll be fine with just the money I took from the apartment. It's not as much as it was supposed to be, but I'll make it work. You just tell me where Amelia is, and we'll go so far you never have to see us or hear from us again, which was always my plan in the first place.
Hey,
Wilder said again.
Seriously, there's...
Not now, Alicia and I fussed at the same time this time. I really didn't know what to believe. May hadn't exactly proven herself very trustworthy, but she wasn't a very good actress either. And what we were hearing from her now didn't feel rehearsed or forced. It felt like the raw truth. Still ugly and still messy, but real. One look at Alicia clued me in that she was having the same internal battle that I was. I guess it's a good thing we don't have to decide right now whether or not we think you're lying, Alicia said. Either way, you're coming with us. There's a scared little girl that needs to see her mother, and then you're going to tell us everything. Every single detail of this ridiculous half-baked plan you and Turner came up with, and then whatever stupidity you cooked up by yourself. May let out a defeated sigh, but she nodded. Just get me out of here so I can see my daughter. Before we could make any move toward actually doing that, the door to the bathroom burst open. Armed, black-suited members of the official security team came rushing in, with Tommy Turner's hysterical wife right on their heels. Right there, she shrieked, jabbing a finger in May's direction, her tear-streaked eyes narrowed with anger. That's the woman who killed my husband.